Long ago in Umunede village. In the peaceful village of Umunede, nestled under the thick arms of ancient Iroko trees, there lived a young girl named Amaka, known for her beauty but also for her stubbornness. Her mother, Njidika, a wise widow who sold herbs in the village square, raised her alone after Amaka's father died in a strange forest incident. One warm evening, as the orange sun slowly bowed to the night, Njidika sat on a woven mat grinding herbs when she called out, "Amaka. It's almost dark. Do not sweep the compound at night. You know it calls spirits." But Amaka, in her usual defiance, rolled her eyes and replied, "Mama, those are just old people's tales. Nothing will happen." Njidika begged again, her voice thick with warning. "The broom wakes the sleeping spirits after dusk. Once you scatter their peace, they don't go back empty-handed." But Amaka refused to listen. That night, after her mother had gone to bed, Amaka picked up the old palm broom and began to sweep the compound. The moon was high, and the wind had gone still, so still that even the crickets paused their songs. The dust rose slowly and eerily, dancing in the air like spirits of the past. Suddenly, she heard it. Whispers. Low, breathy voices she couldn't understand. The air grew cold. The shadows moved, even though the trees stood still. "Who disturbs our slumber?" a voice echoed faintly. Amaka froze. Her hand dropped the broom. She turned around, and there, standing at the edge of the compound, was a tall figure in white, faceless but watching. Its body moved like smoke, and its fingers were made of twigs. Amaka screamed, but her voice didn't make a sound. The night had swallowed it. From the ground beneath the freshly swept sand, hands began to rise, dry, long, and brittle, like forgotten ancestors. The spirits of the earth, angry at being disturbed, circled her. One reached out and touched her forehead. Everything went dark. The next morning, Njidika woke up and couldn't find her daughter. She called the neighbors. They searched the bush, the stream, and even the shrine of the gods. They only found one thing at the center of the compound, the broom, now split in two, and Amaka's slippers turned backwards, facing the forest. Desperate, Njidika went to Dibia Okeke, the village seer. The old man shook his head solemnly and said, "She has been taken by the night watchers. She disturbed them with her broom. Only the spirits know if she will return." For 7 days and nights, Njidika cried and pleaded with the gods. On the 8th night, Amaka appeared back in the compound, her eyes wide and blank, her voice gone, and her hair turned completely white. She never spoke again. From that day, the entire village forbade sweeping at night. Parents would whisper to their children, "Do not awaken the dust when the moon is watching, lest you sweep away more than just dirt." And so, even today in Umunede, once the sun sets and the shadows stretch, brooms are kept aside, and children remember the silent girl who challenged the spirits and lost her voice forever. The night after her return, Njidika watched her daughter closely. Amaka would sit under the same ogbono tree each evening, humming a song no one taught her. Her voice had not returned, but her body moved like someone guided by another force. Her eyes, once bright, were now hollow, always looking far into the unseen. That night, Njidika woke up to find Amaka gone again. She ran outside, heart pounding. And there, under the moonlight, Amaka stood barefoot, sweeping the compound with no broom in sight, only her hands moving back and forth over invisible dust. Suddenly, her mouth opened wide, and a voice that was not hers echoed. She swept into our world. Now we sweep through hers. Njidika screamed. That same night, she ran barefoot to Dibia Okeke, the village seer, again. Dibia Okeke listened with grave concern. Amaka's soul is trapped between the worlds. What you see is only her shell. The true Amaka is wandering the realm of shadows. He explained that the broom she used had once been tied with ofo leaves, sacred to the ancestors. When she swept at night, she opened a path to the underworld. To save her, Njidika would have to go through a dangerous ritual, the journey of echoes. She must 1. Gather ashes from 7 family hearths. 2. Sleep under the Iroko tree for one night. 3. Burn a new broom at midnight and call Amaka's name only once, not twice, or the spirits would confuse her voice for a trick and drag her too. Determined, the old woman traveled across 7 villages, begging ashes from distant relatives. On the 7th day, she returned to Umunede with a bag of dark soot. That night, she spread the ashes in a circle under the Iroko tree and lit a small fire. Amaka, she whispered as the flames danced. Suddenly, the wind howled. From the darkness, Amaka's spirit emerged, floating, half shadow, half light. Her voice finally came. Mama. I'm cold. They won't let me go. But as Mama Njidika stepped forward to hug her, the shadows behind Amaka tried to pull her back. Long arms, blacker than midnight, reached from the flames. With trembling hands, Mama Njidika pulled out the final item, the burnt broom, and smashed it to the ground, shouting, "By the spirits of our fathers, I break the bond." Thunder cracked across the skies. The shadows screamed and vanished. Amaka collapsed to the ground, unconscious but free. By morning, Amaka awoke. Her eyes blinked like someone seeing sunlight for the first time. Her hair remained white, but her voice returned. "Mama, I had no idea. The world I saw, it was dark. They sweep memories, names, even dreams." From that day, Amaka became quiet and humble. She would go from house to house, teaching children about ancestral warnings and respecting nightfall. She became known as Nwanye Nchita, the woman of remembrance. A year has passed. Amaka had survived the shadow realm. Her voice returned, and she became a humble teacher of caution and tradition. But though she walked among the living, something still lingered, a whisper behind her shadow, a presence no one could explain. Each night, as the moon rose, Amaka would feel a cold wind circle her room, and the walls would tremble softly. At first, she believed it was just the memory of the spirit world haunting her, but she was wrong. One night, as she swept her room in the daylight, she noticed something odd. Her shadow did not follow her movement. It stood still, broom in hand, eyes glowing red. She dropped the broom and ran to her mother. Mama Njidika prayed and consulted Dibia Okeke again. The old seer went into a trance, his cowrie shells clattering across the mat like angry teeth. When he opened his eyes, his voice was heavy. Amaka owes the shadow world a debt. She escaped with the help of a mother's love, but the spirits never forget. One must return, willingly. Mama Njidika gasped. She will not go back. But Dibia Okeke warned. If the debt is not paid, the whole village will suffer. The spirits are already stirring. Crops will die. Children will fall ill. Nightmares will walk in daylight. Signs of the spirit plague. True to his word, strange things began to happen in Umunede. Yams began to rot in the soil, even before harvest. Children cried in their sleep, waking with scratches on their skin. At night, people heard brooms sweeping, though no one was outside. Goats gave birth to stillborn kids with black tongues. The elders gathered and demanded Amaka be sent away before the entire village was cursed. In tears, Mama Njidika begged for more time. Dibia Okeke returned one last time with an ancient scroll. It told of an old ritual known as Ahunonia Okpokpu, the love bone. To break the spirit bond forever, a living person had to enter the spirit realm not to fight, but to offer something they loved most, bury it at the crossroads of memory, and seal the gate with their blood. Only Amaka could go, and she had to choose what to sacrifice. Amaka stood under the sacred Iroko once more. She looked around. Her eyes filled with tears. "I will go," she said. "But I will not return empty." With Mama Njidika beside her, she closed her eyes and whispered the incantation. A soft breeze turned into a violent gust. The tree shook. The earth cracked open beneath her feet, and Amaka disappeared into a glowing mist. In the spirit realm, Amaka stood at the crossroads of memory, where spirits drifted like forgotten dreams. There, the keeper of death appeared, a towering shadow with a face like ashes and eyes like burning palm oil. "You have returned," it hissed. "What will you give to end the bond?" Amaka reached into her chest and pulled out a small glowing object. My beauty, she said. It brought me pride and disobedience. I give it up. The keeper laughed. Foolish girl. We do not want your beauty. We want your voice, the voice that disrespected your mother, that called our world tales. Amaka paused, then nodded. Take it. A bolt of lightning struck the sacred tree in Umunede. Amaka emerged from the mist, falling into her mother's arms. Alive, but mute forever. From that day, the village healed. Crops grew again. The brooms fell silent. And though Amaka never spoke again, her silence spoke louder than any tale. She spent the rest of her days writing stories, warning the young, and tending the grave of the broom she once disrespected. Many years later, a young girl once asked Mama Njidika, "Why does Auntie Amaka never speak?" Mama Njidika smiled sadly and replied, "Because she once swept the road to the spirit world, and found her voice was the price to close it." Years passed, and Amaka grew old, living quietly in Umunede. Her silence became a symbol of wisdom, and her white hair glistened like moonlight. Children respected her. Elders greeted her with awe. But on the 5th anniversary of the night ritual, a strange thing began to happen. The brooms in homes began to move by themselves at midnight. Dust swirled in circles without wind. Children heard whispers in the corners of their rooms. Where is she who swept our sleep? Even worse, people began vanishing, one by one, always leaving behind only a broom turned upside down and sand drawn in a spiral. Umunede elders feared the worst. They gathered and realized. The gate was never truly sealed. The debt was paid, but the spirits were only delayed. The village turned again to Dibia Okeke, now very old. He told them that a new night sweeper had been born, someone marked to either protect the village or lead it into destruction. And the sign? A child would be born on a moonless night, with a broken broom bristle in their tiny fist. That child was Chinara, Amaka's granddaughter, born to Amaka's only daughter, Adis. From birth, Chinara would sleepwalk at night, standing with her hands miming the act of sweeping. Amaka, though mute, began training her granddaughter in spiritual protection using sacred chalk, prayer stones, and the broken pieces of the original broom. On Chinara's 12th birthday, the air in Umunede changed. The skies turned grey. Dogs barked non-stop. Goats refused to sleep. The sand in every compound began to shift. At midnight, the night sweepers returned, tall shadowy figures with no feet, dragging brooms behind them, sweeping the air and pulling people's souls as if dust. But this time, Amaka was ready. She led Chinara to the old crossroads of memory, carrying the final relic, her own silence, sealed in a god since the day she gave it up. She offered it to Chinara and nodded. Chinara smashed the god. Amaka's voice escaped, a glowing, haunting echo of all the words she never spoke. But the spirits grew angry. "You cannot take back what was given," they screamed. Chinara raised her hands and spoke in a voice older than her years. "We do not take it back. We give it new meaning." With her bare hands, she swept a circle of fire into the sand and stood inside it. The night sweepers rushed at her. The circle held. One by one, the spirits burned into ash. Amaka, now weak, fell to her knees. She looked into Chinara's eyes and smiled for the first time in decades. Then her body crumbled softly into dust, her spirit finally free. Chinara gathered the ashes and mixed them with the sacred chalk, drawing protective runes all around Umunede's borders. From that night forward, no spirit ever swept through Umunede again. Chinara became known as the keeper of brooms. She taught children that sweeping is not just a chore, but a ritual, a symbol, and a gateway. And in every home, just above the doorpost, hung a small broken broom tied with red thread and white chalk, a reminder never to sweep at night. Some mistakes echo for generations, but the courage to face them can break even ancient curses. What you sweep today may return tomorrow, so sweep with wisdom, or not at all. The end.